The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Molly, we're thrilled to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
And I appreciate y'all giving us this opportunity.
Absolutely. So Molly is with CASA, which is the Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates.
That is correct.
Why don't you tell us, how did you become involved with this?
CASA was formed in July of 2020.
Okay.
And I and several of the other volunteers have been longtime volunteers at the shelter. We just decided that we needed to do something a little bit more concrete, something that would carry on even after we were gone, because that's what you want it to do. You don't want to, have something and you work on something and then it just not exist anymore. Right. So we really wanted to form something more concrete, something that would have a future. So that is exactly what we did.
Awesome.
The ladies got together, formed a plan. We became a 501c nonprofit and are working to this day to still make positive changes within the shelter and within the community. And what we really want to do is not only help the animals at the shelter, which is our first priority. This is the reason we were actually, formed, to make a difference for the animals at the shelter. But we wanted to bring an awareness as well about the shelter and educate the community on, how they fit in. What can they do to be more productive in making the shelter the best it can be. So all of that combined was really the reason that we formed CASA, and we're still forging ahead, trying to make a difference.
That's awesome. So what are some of the needs that you identified early on within the shelter that you wanted to help and address with?
Believe it or not, reaching out to the public, so many then and even now are not fully aware about the shelter. With all due credit to Winnie Berry, a lot of people thought it was Winnie Berry, or people didn't know where it was, or people didn't know anything about it. So we thought we have to create an awareness about the shelter. There was a time that the shelter was not on the priority of many in the community. There's no names here, there's nothing like that. That's just the reality. And we really wanted to be able to help these animals. We had to raise the shelter up so that people would better understand the needs there, what was going on, why things were going on. And we found that to be the great challenge, though, for people to understand. At a time it was an open intake shelter. Now it's a managed intake shelter. Changes have been made, very, very positive changes. And people are still learning about it, learning what they can do. And the community has responded beautifully. They really have. The shelter now has so many people that are wanting to become involved, or interested in becoming involved, wanting to volunteer, do what they can in whatever capacity they are able to. So it's that, I think, was one of the greatest challenges we face. And it is ongoing. It is ongoing. I don't think you ever get to that point that you're through teaching or reaching out or educating the public about animal welfare issues. So that was one of the things that we dealt with early on. Another thing that we really wanted to strive to do, so many animals come into this shelter that are hurt. They're sick. They've been hit by a car. They have mange. We've had animals come in there. It's horrible, but their ears have been mangled due to bad crop jobs, home jobs. So in the past, there was not always funds available for that. The city has always done the best they can, whatever capacity they were able to do at that time. But we also saw a need that, how can we help? So we became an organization that really wanted to invest in providing funds, veterinary funds for these animals that came in. So when they came in, they had immediate access to getting help, going to the vet, having a consultation with the vet, determining what's the best course for this animal to take. So the vetting fund was created, and it has evolved over the years and has been very lucrative, has helped many, many, many animals. So we're proud of that as well, but it's just CASA is not just one-dimensional. We are trying to do several things at the same time. And again, those are two things I think that were foremost on our to-do list when we were created.
So there are multiple different shelters in town. And so I guess what is the difference between all the different shelters?
Well, you have Winnie Berry,
Okay.
which is a wonderful place. What we are affiliated with is the Kurth Animal Shelter and 1901 Hill Street.
Okay.
We have several rescues in town, or a few very, very good rescues that also help. But the difference being, as I said just then, Kurth is now a managed intake shelter.
And what does that mean if
means,
people aren't familiar with that?
Managed means that they do not accept countless dogs every day as they did at one time.
Okay.
When they were an open intake shelter, they accepted for the whole county.
Okay.
And people could bring in their animals at will. And, they were under the obligation that they did have to accept them. They do still accept animals, but it's a different criteria now, how it's met. When you want to have an owner surrender, you call, you make an appointment. So instead of people just going up there, here, which inundated the shelter, which had caused them to make hard decisions. And but now, as I said, it's a managed intake, which has helped a lot in how they accept the animals. And it is working very well. Like I said, positive changes have been made. And CASA, our part in all of that was just really wanting to be there in whatever capacity, like when the animals came in, no matter, owner surrender or whatever. When they needed help, they needed help. So that is really what we try to do first and foremost.
Awesome. So this is the city-funded shelter. So the city manages and maintains Kurth.
This is the city-funded shelter.
So that it previously served the whole county. Is it now just serving Lufkin? Has that changed?
They serve Lufkin, and they still also serve the county.
Gotcha. Okay.
It is different in the way it is managed. Things have changed. Like I said, if you want to own or surrender an animal, you do have to call and make an appointment. You can't just go up there with a truckload of 10 puppies.
Sure. So you can't just decide you don't want these puppies anymore.
Right.
And really, to their credit and to the community's credit, what the shelter and CASA supports 100% is helping people learn to be responsible, helping them learn to say, there's repercussions when I just don't want the dog, which we understand things happen.
Sure.
Obviously life happens, but don't make quick decisions. Don't just take, a dog up there all of a sudden that you were mad at that morning, tore up something. But it is working, we are proud of that. And again, it's just helping the public, the community to become a part of this change, in making the shelter better. And I've always said, my thing's always been the shelter is only going to be as good as we all want it to be. And when something is not valued, when it's not taken care of, when it's not nurtured, then it's not going to be on anyone's priority.
Sure.
And unfortunately, for a number of years, which to no one's fault, but the shelter wasn't on anyone's priority. So it's been a process of building that up so that people will understand, that these are animals here. They didn't ask for this. This is the hand they were dealt.
Sure.
They didn't have the life of my dogs or your dogs and, home, completely everything need taken care of, emotional, you know, the love, everything they needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of these dogs came from off the street, were dumped.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just the shelter really thought this is a way to help the community be a part of what we're doing to make positive changes. Don't just say it's on our shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a community effort, not just the shelter or the city. So that is working. Again, I see so many positive things happening.
That's great.
And the community does respond. Doesn't mean we don't have a way to go in different areas. I'm not saying that. But they are responding. They're becoming more aware. And I think they are finding their footing with this, that we are ultimately responsible for what goes on there.
Sure.
We are the ones that are ultimately responsible. And we are happy that things are going in the right direction.
That's great. So we talked a lot about the intake and people surrendering animals, but the other side of that is the ability for people to adopt.
Yes.
So people can come to the shelter and adopt.
Absolutely, they can. They do have, when a dog is brought in as a stray, which means there's no known owner, it brought in off the streets, maybe out of the county. They do have a waiting period. Normally it's 3 days. It may be up to 5 days, depending on if the dog had any kind of ID on them. Of course, the first thing they do is check for a chip when they come in immediately. If no chip is found, but if the dog may have a collar or something that someone owns this dog, you know, then the normal waiting period is 3 days. They may extend that to 5, just depending. But y'all, again, remember, I'm not an employee there. I'm a volunteer, so I speak with just what knowledge I do have. But yes, they are, after that waiting period is up, what they call the stray hold, then the dogs can either be adopted or they can go to rescues. And right now, I cannot sing the praises enough of how the rescues have made such an impact on Kurth. It is just phenomenal what they have done, and what the staff and the volunteers up there have done. They've worked hard together, and they have connected with many, many reputable rescues. And right now, we have so many leaving on transports. Most of them go up north. Most of the transports go up north. And, you know, they'll come, you know, and maybe they'll go so this far, and another leg will go this far, but a lot of them wind up in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's
We're not talking about like North Texas.
No.
Yeah, I was thinking Dallas or Tyler.
Sorry, I should clarify myself
north.
on that. When I say north, I mean the northern United States, even unto Canada. And it's so cute because they'll send pictures back, you know, from up north or Canada, and send back to the shelter, the dogs in the snow. You know, these good old Texas dogs. They're not known for sure with the snow, but they're loving it and romping in the snow. You know, it's just a wonderful thing to see that. But yes, rescues, adoptions are always there.
That's great.
Everyone, and we advocate adoptions. We want every dog there to have that chance to have a good, loving home. It's what they deserve. You know, like I said, so many of them, this is the hand they were dealt.
Sure.
And everybody wants them to have that chance to have that home. And on that note, I can add that right now, over 90% of the dogs there do go on to happy homes.
Oh, good.
Over
that's
90%.
awesome.
Now, do you have animals other than dogs or just dogs?
No, there's dogs, cats. They occasionally get in a horse, pigs, you know, goats and things like that. No, it's not.
Those are things you don't think about
Don't
being in an
think
animal
about,
shelter.
right? But they have a place back there for livestock.
Okay.
And I'm sure they've gotten in even more exotic things that I don't know about.
That's great.
We, you know, when you think of the shelter, automatically you think of dogs.
Sure.
Right.
But no, also cats too. We have cat rescues that come and pull so many kittens, you know. We're coming up kitten season, so everybody beware. So if y'all know anybody wants kittens, you know, y'all know where to send them. But we're very, very proud of how far they've come.
That's great.
That's great. Well, what can people do to help you?
Yeah, if they want to be involved, if they want to volunteer, what does that look like?
Be a voice. The number one thing I think CASA asks is to be a voice for these animals. To please preach spay and neuter your animals. That would make such a phenomenal difference, because they do get in many pregnant females or females that have just had puppies. You know, and you're talking about a good female lab healthy, you know, she could have 10 or 12 puppies. That is a strain on the animal in the shelter, as well as the staff, to try to provide for that. So they are always hunting for volunteers. They're hunting for people, you know, sometimes they need a female to come in, or, you know, if that's a foster with a female, some pups come in without, something's happened to mom.
Yeah.
So it's just a number of different things. But CASA asks that people be aware, that people be a voice, and that people contribute whatever they have in their capacity, whether that's just talking about it, making people aware of it. Again, preach spay and neuter. There are different options, low-cost spay neuters available here locally. Winnie Berry has a wonderful program that they can contact. DeHart Mobile Vet that comes through Lufkin, I think, twice a month. They have a wonderful, wonderful, you have to make an appointment, and they usually set up at the mall. And, you know, you have that appointment to have your pet neutered, spayed. It makes a drastic difference. You know, I think that is one problem that Angelina County, actually the state of Texas, needs to focus more on is spay and neuter laws. For instance, in the county adheres to the laws of the state. The city has more ordinances. They have more grasp of what they can do controlling situations, although they don't have a spay neuter law in itself. But the county, because in the past I have talked to different commissioners, addressed the commissioner's court and so forth, they adhere to whatever the state laws are. So when the state laws are not provided for, you know, certain mandatory spays or neuters or leash laws in the county or whatever, you know, then Angelina County, you know, that is telling them what to do, the state. So become involved in your state politics. You know, keep up with the Texas Humane Legislation Network. They are a phenomenal force that they have worked so hard to bring about changes within the state level. And the state, of course, affects the county, and it also affects the city. It all, you know, is combined to work together.
Sure.
But the state recently, Texas Humane Legislation recently, I say recently, it's been 2 years ago, passed the Safe Outdoor Dog Act. This means every dog outside, and cat, I suppose, cats are a little different breed, but the dogs, they now have to have a proper shelter outside. You cannot put a piece of plywood up against the wall and call that a doghouse. You cannot put a barrel out there and call that a doghouse. There are specifics now that the state has said, this is the law. Everyone has to follow this law. So it was a tremendous, tremendous success when they were able to pass that. That's great. It was for the animals of Texas.
That's
awesome.
Great.
Well, we're so thankful that y'all are here and helping and supporting the shelter.
Well, thank you. We're going to continue to try to make a positive difference for these animals. We do fundraisers. We have a Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates page. We also started something, last July. Casa Corner. And it was an experiment. We said, let's try it. But we have an online thrift shop, if you want to call it such. It's literally a thrift shop. And we work 100% off of people donating to us. And we're working out of my home right now. But people, call, I've got such and such and such. Can you use this? Well, of course, yes, thank you. And they bring it to us. We turn around. Because we're a thrift shop, we do try to have very, very economical prices. And we sell them.
Wow.
It is working. We're very pleased with that. It's called Casa Corner. It is online on Facebook. And you can find us there. But, we're proud of that. We hope people continue to support that. And just, like I said, just be that voice, their lives literally are in our hands. And, it's our responsibility, our God-given responsibility to care for these animals to the best of our capacity.
I love that.
Well, we appreciate all of the information you shared today.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much. Again,
Thanks for
thank you
being
for this
on.
opportunity. Again, it's just every chance we can have to talk to the public about this, raise that awareness, education and awareness. We just are happy to be able to do that. And thank you again as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your time, and go support this organization. That's CASA with a K, Kurth Animal Shelter Advocates. Thank you, Molly, for your time. We appreciate you coming on, and thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. We truly appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week.